All right. Welcome back to If the Mirror Could Talk podcast. Today, we're going to be diving into a powerful conversation. I want to invite you to first pause for just a moment and take some time to self reflect. Take a deep breath because life can move fast. We often get so caught up in where we need to go that we forget about how far we've already come. Growth isn't always loud. Sometimes it's just the small victories, quiet, resilient, and moments where we choose faith over fear. Did you know that over 70% of people struggle with self doubt and imposter syndrome at some point in their life? And that's exactly why we work with life coaches. It's so powerful, helping people to break through limiting beliefs and stepping into their purpose that God has called them to. When we talk about life coaches, that is what this episode is about. Today, we'll be talking about faith, resilience, and the power of sisterhood with someone who has dedicated their life to helping women rise above their struggles and claim the life that God has for them. Our guest, Kaylin, is an entrepreneur, a life coach, and she is the founder of Moving Mountains Together and the She Will Move Mountains movement. She helps women to overcome obstacles and walk boldly into their purpose. Kaylin, I'm so excited to have you here today, and I would love for you to tell our guests a little bit about you.
Thank you. I'm so excited to be here today. My name's Kaylin Bonn, which you already know. I'm a single mom of two boys, and last March I decided that I was going to create Moving Mountains Together while I was going through my program to get my health and life coach certificate. During that time, I decided I wanted to create this program, She Will Move Mountains, to really empower women and offer like this community where they can grow together and have the support and accountability to go after what they want in life.
So, thank you so much for that, Kaylin. I appreciate you kind of giving an overview of like her story. I just want to say her story is amazing. It's phenomenal. When we get into it, you guys are going to really, really, if you are not a follower of Christ already, you're going to want to learn more about what God can do in your life. So she truly has a phenomenal story. I want to ask you a question about when you look in the mirror, what do you see today that you didn't see 5 years ago?
I see someone that truly walks a path with God, someone that has accepted themselves for who God created them to be. And with that, I have found the heart of God and his peace that goes everywhere with me.
So I love that you started off with walking the path with God. And I know you had a lot of transformations in the last 5 years. So take me to where you are now and what God is doing for you today. And then we're going to kind of go back to how you got to where you are.
So I am founder of Moving Mountains Together, health and life coaching. And yeah, I just froze.
Okay. So tell me a little bit about the your movement and how, because I know you have Together We Will Move Mountains, but then you have She Will Move Mountains.
Yes. So I am launching this program starting March 15th. She Will Move Mountains. It's 10 women, 10 different goals, one sisterhood. And I want to create like this environment where you could come and grow together, but also have the one-on-one coaching with me.
So what prompted you to, do you have sisters? What prompted you to kind of come together as a sisterhood?
I'm an only child.
Oh,
Yes.
I love that.
So my sisters have always been like friends.
Mm-hmm.
And I just, from my own experience, when you decide to make a change in life, a lot of times you're scared of what you're going to lose or who you're going to lose. And what if we shifted that to look at what you're going to gain? You're going to gain 10 women, working on themselves, looking to grow in faith. And yeah.
So when you say 10 women and they have 10 different goals, how do you come together? Is everyone helping one another? What does that look like?
So they each have their individual goal that we work with one-on-one coaching, but then we're going to have a group meeting once a week where they can have additional support. Those are going to be the people that hold them accountable, offer them maybe an outside perspective if maybe they have advice that I don't have.
Mhm. So I know that you have a long you've had a long life in these last 5 years, a lot of transformation. So I want to jump into that. So before you were a life coach, can you tell them a little bit about what you did before?
I was a bartender, and I loved bartending. That bar was always surrounded with so much love, and I met some amazing people that helped get me to where I am today.
And on your journey to bartending, how did you shape your perspective? I know you talked to people. I know you also had messages from God come to you directly at the bar, in some sense. So can you tell me a little bit about how bartending shaped your perspective on your walk of faith and shaping your perspective on life coaching today?
You know, let's see. Bartending was like I'm so sorry.
It's okay.
It helped me through my hardest time in life. Uh, I stepped out of my marriage. It was no longer suiting me, and I had to save myself. And I was a broken mess, shattered on the floor. And I don't know how many times I walked into that bar and I cried until the moment we unlocked the doors. And I really had to search for God and ask Him for strength. Like, okay, God, I need your armor on me today. I have no idea how I'm going to do this. So it wasn't that I was strong, my God was strong. And through that, He brought me some amazing people. So it was like Memorial Weekend, and it was really busy. And I had a few short conversations with this guy, and he found out that I was a single mom and that my boys went to a private Christian school. And it was a few days later on Memorial Day, he ended up back at that bar, and he showed up and I was already off of work. And he goes, well, I had some questions for you, but I guess I'm going to have to come back. And I said, no, I have time. So I sat next to him, and he pulls a sheet of paper out of his pocket, and he starts asking all these questions about the boys' school, how the scholarship program works. And when he was done, he folds it up and he says, I want to pay for your boys' tuition. And I said, that's very kind of you, but I know it's all going to work out. So a few months pass, and here he comes in, walking into the bar, and he has lunch. And when he's done, he asked me if I figured out my boys' tuition. And I said, I did. I told you it was all going to work out.
Right.
And he goes, okay, well, he pulls up this bag and he sets it on the bar. And he's like, well, this is for you. And in this is a busy mom's Bible with some Bible verses for you to read. And here's this envelope. I wanted to put it in the Bible, but it won't fit. But I don't want you to open it up until you get home. And I'm working a 12-hour shift. So I'm sitting on this envelope all day, having no idea what's in it. And little did this man know that my car had just broken down. I had to put it on my credit card, and I had no idea how I was going to pay it off. So I get home and I open the envelope, and it's exactly what I need to pay for my car.
Mm.
And I just broke down at the bar, at home at the counter. Like, sometimes you don't know how mountains are going to move in your life, but God sends someone to move those mountains for you. And that wasn't the only miracle that I experienced there. I knew that I had a greater calling in life, and bartending just wasn't working now that my kids were getting older. So I decided I was going to look into other careers, and I came across life coaching. And so I mentioned that to one regular one day, and then a couple days later he came in and I had already picked my program. I was enrolled and taking a huge leap of faith because I had no idea how I was going to pay for this program. And he made a mental note at that point, and I didn't know about this, that was from God because of how quickly I had moved forward with this plan. And so January comes around, I'm in school, I have no idea how I'm going to pay for this. Work is slower than ever because it's the slow season. And here he comes and he hands me an envelope and he says, I want you to put this towards your schooling. And so for 6 months, once a month, he would come in and give me an envelope. And when I was done with my program, he asked me if I was going to have my schooling paid for. And I told him no. And he said, well, my gift to you is I want to pay the rest of your tuition, which is absolutely incredible. And a probably a few months later, he came back in and he asked me if I knew why he had paid for my schooling. And I said, I have no idea. He goes, I want to sponsor you to help others. I wanted to see how serious you actually were at helping them. So his sister showed up for lunch and the conversation got put on pause. And that evening, I was meeting with a potential client and they were all in, but I could tell this was going to be a huge financial strain on them. So the next morning I got up, I text him, hey, I met with somebody. Are you serious about sponsoring me? I would love to give them this gift. And he texts back like 5 seconds later, I'm all in. So yeah. So it was so incredible that I was able to call this family up and say that we were going to take this burden off of them. And then when I decided to leave the bar, he told me that he was going to sponsor me to help 3 people a year.
Wow. And
Yeah,
I know you said last time we talked, you just recently left your job in November.
November, yes.
And
You
you completed your life coaching, and now suddenly you are getting, like, it's the divine, it's God in the mix when it's happening suddenly. You don't know where it's going to come from, you don't know what's going to happen, but God is just moving, like you said, moving mountains, moving anything that's in your way and moving those obstacles, and also protecting you from the fears that you may have had leaving that job. When you're leaving a position, sometime you're like, well, how am I going to pay my bills? What if nobody comes? What if I don't have the clients? What if this? And it might be somebody that's watching that's thinking, I'm scared to take that leap because I don't know if a miracle is going to come for me. But when you trust in God, you will have sudden miracles come and everything will be taken care of. And I and you glanced over something that I want to just touch on a little bit. What is a busy mom's Bible?
It has like devotionals in there that go hand in hand on with like struggles with what a mom might be going through.
Did you have a favorite devotional or like something that you may remember from there?
Gosh, I've spent so much time in that Bible.
You could paraphrase.
Not on the top of my head, but like I've helped. One of my clients was a 15-year-old girl and been in therapy most of her life. And I quickly learned that she had all the tools that most people would come to for a life coach. And so I asked her how she would feel about bringing God into this. And her eyes lit up. And so I gave her a Bible one day, and then I came home and I realized, how do you expect someone to find their way if you don't show them? So once a week, we would meet up and we would read Bible verses together. And in the beginning, I would always bring my busy mom Bible, and I got her the same version, but in a teenage version.
Oh, that's
Yeah. And we would read so many different scriptures, and it was amazing to see like her faith grow, where finally she would come to me like, I want to learn about relationships today. Well, what about them? Communication, or do you have to trust everybody? And she always
Mhm.
had all these questions, and it was amazing to see how this 15-year-old girl that was so shut would open up and finally let me know on what she was struggling with. And through the course of 3 months, at the end of it, she was thriving in every area of life, confident, holding her head up. And it was just incredible to see unfold.
Wow, that is beautiful. Why I ask that is because I think the biggest thing that people miss out on a lot of the time is the Bible is like the master class for the Holy Spirit's mind and kind of how to learn more about his character and the things that he will put you through to put you in a different position. A lot of times, people are experiencing suffering or they're experiencing different things and they don't understand the mind of the Holy Spirit. And that goes kind of back to why people need life coaches, because they don't really understand how to dissect their own mental or their own confidence or their own fitness and faith, and they have these struggles, but they don't understand the mind of the Holy Spirit to be able to understand that all of this is happening for their greater good. And like God said, everything all things are working for your good at the end of the day. It doesn't matter what happens. So I love that she was able to take that and then dissect and want to learn more about the mind of the Holy Spirit and have questions about it, like it's a living, breathing, a living, breathing spirit, versus like just reading pages off the book and being like, I don't really know what these pages mean, but like, what does relationship mean? Because starting relationship with God, starting relationship with yourself, it really helps you to transform how you think about relationships with others. So I love that. That's a great question, because I think everything starts with relationship. And that's like, for a 15-year-old to ask that, that is so important, because every single thing we do starts with relationship. And we don't really, sometimes, a lot of the time, we don't have healthy relationships with ourselves, and that translates into other relationships. So to be able to have that knowledge and that wherewithal at such a young age, it will, it'll help you as you move forward. And I think that that's something you help people with, as far as how to transform their mind into having healthy relationships. So I want to ask you, being that you're moving in this new chapter, how are you able to overcome the fear of moving into a new chapter with, I don't know, tell us if you had clients already lined up, like how are you able to move past that to say, I'm going to take this leap of faith?
I think there was a point that I looked back and I'm like, everything that God has walked me through got me to this point. And I knew the time was coming when I needed to leave the bar. And one day I just like spoke it out. They were like, we need you to work this buyout event. And I'm like, I told them, I don't think I'm going to be here.
Oh,
And they're
wow.
like, wait, what? And I said, yeah, today's my month notice.
What?
And yeah.
Oh,
And
wow.
I'm like, okay, I just spoke this into existence. There is no turning back now. And no, I really had no idea how it was going to work out. I've always felt that God was going to bring the people to me that needed help. I just had to put myself out there so that they could find me.
So did you always have like an unwavering faith in God? Is your family like, were you born into this? Like, how did you really start to gain relationship with God over the
I
years?
I I grew up in church, so I had that religious background, but I don't think I had the relationship with God. And it was time for my kids to go to preschool, and I put them in a Christian preschool. And I was looking at my 4-year-old reciting Bible verses and his love for God. I was envious of it, and I'm like, I want that. And
Wow.
my marriage was struggling, and my parents took us on a trip to Florida, and my mom goes, Kaylin, like God's trying to tell you something.
Mhm.
And so I I did decide to save myself and leave my marriage at that point, and that was really when I started growing in my love for God, and inviting him in to heal the parts that I couldn't.
Mm. And I want you to talk to the people that may be listening that they've grown up in religion, they've grown up in the church, and talk to them about the difference between religion and relationship with God. What's the difference for you?
I really think there's having faith in Christ, and there's having and walking faith of Christ, or walking faith,
Mm.
in and of. We all, maybe some of us are sitting back waiting for this miracle to happen, but I've switched that, where I'm going to step out and be fearless and take that leap of faith and know that it's all going to work out the way it's supposed to.
And I think that is so courageous of you. I'm not gonna lie. But what is your advice that you would give to someone who's feeling stuck in fear right now, and they may have a little bit of religion, a little bit of relationship, but they're just stuck in fear and they can't seem to move the needle into that next chapter? What would be some advice you would give them?
You know, I think we're all, it's kind of like driving the old, the same old car. You can predict the outcome. You know it's how it's always going to play out. But what if you could upgrade it, and you're driving a new car, and I know you can't predict the way things are going to work out, but if you're working on yourself, it's 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 going to reap like I guess I can't even think of the words right now, but yeah, it's
So,
it's all going to be okay. I promise you that. If I can do it, you can too. And I know
and
that.
that's
Go ahead.
important. That's what I want people to understand with this episode, because when you are as confident as you are and you're as courageous, you're a mom, you're a life coach, an entrepreneur, and you're now going to be guiding 10 women into their new chapter of life. And it's so important to have that step out on that leap of faith, but you have to start. And starting sometimes, what I see a lot of times is just people in general. They have decision paralysis. They don't know when to make the right decision because they don't want to make the wrong decision. But if you make a decision, God will lead you and give you the ability to, like I said before, work all things out for your good. So when we talk about when we talk about what you were able to do, going from a bartender to now your own entrepreneur, tell me about, like, does entrepreneurship run in your family, or, like, is everybody in your family entrepreneurs, or are you one of the first, or how what does that look like for you and your family dynamics now?
My dad started his own business. He was running a warehouse for years, and he came home to my mom. He's like, I just can't do it anymore. And she was like, okay, well, as long as you can bring me the same amount of money every week. So he quits his job, and he had signs out on the corner rototilling gardens in the beginning until he figured out what he was going to do.
Wow.
He would work with all of his friends, and then he decided he was going to start a gutter business. So anytime that I would tell my dad, bartending is just not working, I'm missing all the important things with my kids, he'd be like, but you've got a good job. And finally, when I called him to say, well, I put my notice in, and I thought he was going to be like, what are you doing? He goes, you've got this. And I'm like,
Wow.
oh, well, I have your support. Okay. This is going to be okay.
So you do come from an entrepreneurial background. So it's kind of, and then also having that support. I know that gave you that extra push, that extra fire you needed. And I want to hear a little bit about what your kids thought about you leaving the bar to now become an entrepreneur and a life coach.
The first thing they said is, you're not going to miss any more of our hockey games. And I was like, no.
Oh, wow. That is kind of like, it's kind of like it puts me in two different mind states. Like you're happy that they said that, but then it's also kind of heartbreaking that you did have to miss them as well.
Mhm.
So it oh my gosh. I so it sounds like everybody is super proud of you and happy for the move that you are making in your life. And it sounds like God is not only affirming you, but confirming what you already knew in your heart. So,
Yeah. Well, and I had this realization in the last few weeks is I've always known that it was my job to raise 2 future world changers, but how do I expect them to be world changers if I don't try to go change the world myself?
wow.
Yeah. So
Wow.
so and when I realized that, I called my 10-year-old over and I said, You're a world changer, right?" And he just rolled his eyes at me and goes, "Mom, you tell me that all the time." And I said, "Yeah, but for you to be a world changer, I have to go try to change the world myself." And he goes, "Mom, you're just one person. How can you change the world?" And I'm like, "Well,
Wow.
if I can change the world for one person, haven't I changed the world?" And he goes, "You know what, Mom? You are right."
Wow. And that's truly amazing because it speaks to the moms that are trying to lead by example. And I've seen this play out a lot of times in family dynamics where it's like, if your dad is a pilot, maybe you'll grow up to be a pilot or a flight attendant, if your mom is a flight attendant, maybe you'll grow up to do the same. So it's kind of like they do what they see, and that can be the inverse as well. Like if, your parent or is an alcoholic, you may grow up to be an alcoholic or not, so or just, abolish alcohol altogether because you can't stand that narrative. So it's so impactful to see moms actually do what they say and lead by example, because I think sometimes we get caught up in everyday life that we forget that we have to lead by example. It's not good enough to just say do what I say and not what I do. You have to lead by example.
You do.
So
And I
yeah,
think as a mom, sometimes you put your dreams on hold.
right.
And I realized that I was only teaching my kids that it was okay to put their dreams on hold for someone else.
Wow. Wow. I have to take a second for that because I think moms feel like that is their duty, to put your dreams on hold and not to live who God has called you to be. And that is so powerful for moms to understand that your children are watching you put your dreams on hold and they think it's okay to get back to it later too. So that is so impactful truly for the moms that are watching this that feel like, I can wait till you guys are out of till the kids are out of the house and not do it right now while they're in the house and show them that it can be done. That's so powerful, Caitlin. Honestly. I never thought about that way.
Yeah,
Um,
and we all have these ambitions for our kids, but what if we went and broke those chains for them so that they leave the house at 18 and they're fully unstoppable? They don't have to go through all the things that you went through as a childhood. You've done the work for them.
Uh, and I think that really saves a lot of people a lot of time from having kids in their house that are low ambition and, just not willing to take on life by the horns because of that, because of the lack of urgency, the lack of commitment, the lack of discipline. So I think that really pushes them and catapults them into greatness as soon as, they're ready to, fly. And I see it all the time. You see kids, they're 16 years old and they're young and they're rich and they're living their dreams because they had that discipline, they had that consistency, and they were able to make a commitment to something they wanted to do at a young age, and they didn't have to sit around and wait. So and they also may see their parents not sitting around and waiting either. So that's something I always see all the time. So that just made me think about like the the transformative ways that motherhood can impact not only your kids but you as a woman as well.
Yes.
And I want to ask you, because as we talk about motherhood, one thing I realized you need in motherhood is resilience. So, what does resilience mean to you, and how has it played a role in your journey?
Y- there's days that you don't feel strong and you want to give up, but you can't. Like the world is always going on around you. It doesn't stop if you're having a bad day. And I think that so many times in life, we're waiting for there to be enough money, for the timing to be right, that you're going to have enough time. But if you wait for those things, you're never going to go after what you want in life.
That is so true. That is so true. Because we're always facing setbacks,
Mhm.
but it's our job to overcome those obstacles. It's our job to continue to have the mind of everything is working out for my good. And I feel like we talked about overcoming fears, resilience, but I want to touch on the She Will Move movement. I want to hear about more about how sisterhood is going to impact the experience that you're going to be giving on March 15th for the 10 lucky women that are able to go through this coaching with you. So, if you could just touch on that a little bit.
You know, I have no idea. I am once again taking this leap of faith. It's something that God like put in my mind to do, and I really feel like He is going to move mountains in this group. And this isn't my program; this is His. He's just putting me in charge of it. So,
I love that. I think that. Oh, so let me ask you this. So, is it an age group of women that you're looking for? Is it a type of women? Like what women? Any type of women? What are the women that we should look forward to seeing this group of 10?
so at first I started this, and I'm like, okay, I want to get 10 women together, but we're going to open it up and see what comes to me.
Hmm.
And I noticed a trend. It's what it's moms that are struggling. Maybe they're going through a divorce, or they're single moms, and they don't know who they are outside of their marriage or a mom or their career. And I was once there too. So
Right.
I want to help them like figure out who they are, what their purpose is, and find their calling in life, so that they're thriving and living a lot. Like I I once didn't feel like I was alive, and I have to say that I love my life. I Even
Mhm.
on bad days, it's amazing, and there's so many things to be blessed with.
That is so true. And I think sometimes we kind of touched on this in our pre-meeting. Sometimes people they have women, you're married and you submit your life to being a mom, being a wife, that you forget your identity, and you can put yourself so much on the back burner that it's not really living, it's just surviving. You're just surviving through the next day, trying to make everybody happy, make sure everybody has everything, make sure it's picture perfect, but inside you're not feeling, you're not oiling your own lamp, and you don't have that fire in you like you need to. So
Yeah,
your 10 women are going to be either married or divorcees and moms.
yeah.
Is that kind of like the dynamics?
Yes, we live in a society where I feel like women are felt guilty for putting themselves first. And what if for 90 days they did and they poured into themselves? They're going to find that they have even more to pour out onto everyone else.
Now that I cannot wait to see the transformation that happens in these 90 days with these 10 women, because I know that God is going to be really moving mountains. The way that you have a unwavering faith for God, and the way that you are walking in the calling that He has placed on you, the transformation that is about to happen with these 10 women, not only these 10 women, but I feel like you as well, is going to be something that we need to document
Yeah.
because it's going to be out of this world. I can feel how big the shift is going to be, with not only your faith, your finances, and the fitness that people may be looking at, because when we get into life coaching, those are the top 3 things that people most of the time have issues with. And fitness, when you're a mom, sometimes it's hard to get that fitness in. It's hard to get, you're kind of living by faith, but you're like, but I gotta still do it. Faith without works been dead. So it's like you still have to do it. And then also the finances. So I definitely I would love to hear, are you going to be tackling those 3, faith, finances, and fitness within your coaching?
Faith, definitely.
Okay.
That's my staple. Yes, I really do feel like fitness is a big part of it, your mental, physical, what is it? Well, mind, body, and soul. You got to
Yes.
take care of all 3. And yeah, fitness, finance, that all plays a big role in that. Yeah.
And I ask that because it's so important that people know it's all intertwined. I was talking to God about this because I'm experiencing, like, right before we got on this podcast, I was telling you, like, I'm doing this 14-day challenge with one of my coaches, Coach Crystal. And in this challenge, I am not only transforming what I eat, but I'm transforming my mind and my heart. One of the things that I've been so hyper focused on, and I feel like because I want to lose weight, I've been idolizing losing weight. I've been idolizing, okay, is the food, like, what am I eating? What am I not eating? Hyper focused on eating the right things. But during this 5-day, we're doing a 14-day challenge. During this 5 days, what I've experienced is to not be so hard on myself, to talk kind to myself, and also to put God first in my fitness, because I was so worried about what I eat, what I do this, when I do that. But when I put God first, it really helped me to feel like I'm surrendering a burden on me. And I think that a lot of the time, moms have emotional weight that they have on them. And when they surrender that burden to God, when they surrender and say, you know what, I'm not going to be so hard on myself. I'm just going to trust God and do what I need to do. And now I feel lighter. The weight is shedding off of me. And I think that as we move, as we continue to get movement in our body, in our mind, our finances would move with us, and they'll move in an upward motion as we continue, to talk kind to ourselves and have that fitness. That's why I wanted to intertwine those 3 things together, because sometimes when you're not as fit, or you don't look, you're not as happy with your weight, you don't have that confidence. You don't have the things that you need, that you feel like, to succeed. You don't have the strong faith, because you feel like, listen, I don't got the fitness. My finances is not looking good. And so your faith starts to decline. But as you continue, and that's what you'll be there for, to kind of motivate people. Am I right?
Yes. And, this program isn't a one size fits all. I want to meet the person where they're at in front of me. And, like you said, I think a lot of times we try to go chase the money and the fortune, money and the fame and fortune, and really become the best version of yourself, and it'll all find you.
Oh, said beautifully. Said beautifully, because that's exactly what's happening to me now. It's like, now I am just like living in my truth, living in my purpose, doing what God is calling me to do. And now I feel like everything is working out for my good. Everything is going great. I'm already 2 pounds down. I'm not doing much more than I was doing before. So it's like everything is going good. I got a random check in the mail like a day ago. So, and I'm like, what is this check for? So like, as I continue to move, God is also moving in my finances. I know I sounded like PD Popoff order right there. I got a check in the mail, but literally
But it
I got a
does, yeah.
check in the mail that I wasn't expecting. My weight is going down and my faith is increasing, because I'm instead of me continuing to pray to God in a way of defeat, like, oh my gosh, God, please help me out of this situation, I'm now demanding, saying, God, you told me I have dominion over all kingdoms and I shall walk in my purpose. You have given me the authority. And speaking with authority, it now has transformed how I look at myself and how I feel about myself. So for anybody that's feeling defeated, they're feeling like they're just so down and they don't know what to do next, and they're feeling fearful, start to demand and call back your authority. And I'm telling you, once I did that, I felt transformed, and I felt like my life was going in an upward movement, because sometimes it's a demonic attack or a spiritual attack, but sometimes it's just God asking you to handle the things that he's already given you authority over. So sometimes it's not a spiritual attack. Sometimes you need to handle what you have to handle, and you need to command an authority over all dominions and let them know that you are God's child. So
Yeah, you are a child of God. You are loved. There's no reason for you to carry that shame on your, or regret on your shoulders. We we have a gracious God, and that is not earned, it is given.
Yes, yes. And that is another word. Listen, you're dropping gems today. It is not earned. It's given, because it is. It's
It is.
not something, it doesn't matter if you messed up yesterday, get back up and try again, because God forgives you. Repent for your sins and you will be forgiven. So I definitely believe that God is a kind God, and he wants to show you that. And he's not going to punish you for every little thing you do. And that's where I was in my journey at the time. I'm like, God has punished me for every little thing I do. Um, but this is not my episode. This is yours. So let's get
Yep.
back. Let's get back into it. I'm sorry. I'm like going
Oh,
off on a
you're good.
tangent.
I'm loving it. But yeah, I do. I feel that. I feel that.
I'm, I'm like going off on a tangent, like, take your authority back. So, so so I know we talked about she will move mountains, but do you have any plans to deal with men at any time, or is your target just women?
You know, I've had an outpour of men going, "Well, I want a brotherhood." "Well, are you a feminist? Why isn't there a men's group?" And I was like, "No, I want to do this, but I'm going to figure this one out, and then I'm going to take on the next challenge."
Okay.
So I do see that in the future, that there is going to be a He Will Move Mountains or some program for them. And I've already talked to like my life coach mentor, like, hey, I can't run the brotherhood. I need to bring in a male figure to run the brotherhood for me. So it's in the
Okay.
works. It
Okay.
definitely will be happening.
Okay. Awesome. And with this, she will move mountains. Are you guys going to be having like virtual retreats or anything that's coming up within this 90 days?
So I do have an optional retreat since this is the first time. I
Okay.
work with a personal trainer that is absolutely amazing, and she does sound baths and yoga, and she's putting
Ah,
on a retreat in Monument. So I was like, hey, what if I teamed up with you and we offer this? So some people have taken her up on on that option. And that's not till May, so there's still time for them.
awesome. And that's going to be in Colorado?
Colorado and Monument.
Okay. Okay, awesome. And if you guys didn't know, Kaylin is based in Colorado. So if you are in Colorado, and are you doing any one-on-one in-person life coaching, or is all your life coaching virtual?
I do meet with people in person. I have a lot of people that call me and they're like, I will not do it on Zoom. And I said, that's fine. And it's funny, as you meet with them a few times, then they're like, you know what? Maybe I can do Zoom.
I love that. But people need to experience you. Some people need to, see you and feel that energy in person. Because when I say you're on fire for God and just feeling and being in that atmosphere with you, I'm pretty sure it definitely transformed their outlook of life already, So sometimes people do need to meet in person.
I have had people tell me that, no, you need to get the full Kaylin effect. They can't get that
Right.
over a Zoom call.
Right, the full experience.
Yeah.
So I wanna ask you, so behind me I have my book, which is the Mirror Method. It's 7 days to being the most authentic you. And in the book, the last chapter, I talk about leaving a legacy and an impact. And I want to know a little bit about, with this life coaching and with the movements that you have going right now, which is She Will Move movements, what is the legacy that you hope to leave behind with all the movements that you'll create?
I want to turn Moving Mountains Together into a nonprofit, and I want to go help those that can't afford it. I've recently been involved in a safe house, and that's really where I want to be. I want to help the women there at their lowest. Once I remember being not in the same situation, but just feeling completely defeated and lost, and I want them to have that opportunity. So I I see that that's where Moving Mountains is going to go in the future. I've had so many amazing people that sponsored me to get me to where I am, and I want to pull them all together so that we can truly go move mountains together.
I love that. I love that. And we're gonna wrap it up soon. But before we wrap it up, I want to do a drum roll, please. Okay, I want to do a um rapid fire questions. Mirah, tell me more. So in this, I'll ask you 3 questions, and either you finish the sentence or you answer the question. So the first question is, when I look in the mirror, I see.
I see someone truly walking a path with God, and I love who's staring back at me.
I love that. If I can change reflections with anyone, who would it be?
Oh boy. Change reflections as it. I
Like you
don't
become
know.
them for a day. Who would it be?
I honestly don't know.
Okay, next question. If next question, if you can give yourself a pep talk today, what would you say?
There truly is beauty from ashes.
I love that. I love that. And you didn't answer my third question, but I got a bonus round for you. um, if you could share a powerful moment when you share a powerful moment when you see God working in your life today? Something that you feel like he's working in your life right now today, and you want to share that moment. It can be anything, something simple.
You know, I did the work to get where I'm at, and God finally, He brought me a man that was everything that I prayed for and more.
Oh, wow. What?
Yeah.
Oh, see, we didn't talk about this last time. We
No, we
didn't
didn't.
we did not talk about this last time. So I definitely believe that you're moving mountains. You're moving mountains not only in your life, but in relationships. Oh, goodness. I wish I would have touched on that a little bit more about the relationships, because you found a relationship with God. In turn, God rewarding you for staying focused on Him in so many different ways. Am I right? Am I touching that point right?
You are. I think there's only so far you can walk by yourself until God brings someone into your life, to continue that path with.
That is so, oh wow, that is so true. Oh my gosh. Well, I'm so glad that you are now about to be moving mountains as of next week with your 10
Yes.
lucky women that are going to be on this journey with you, lucky moms that are going to be on this journey with you. And your story has been truly inspiring to me. I thank you because I feel like you shared your heart, you shared your faith, and not only that, but you shared your mission with us today. To our listeners, if this conversation speaks to you, don't keep it to yourself, share it with a friend. I would love if you want to find Kaylin, please, Kaylin. We'll put all the links below in the bio. But if you would like to share your social medias, if you have a website or anything with them right now, that would be great.
You can find me at movingmountainstogether.com and Moving Mountains Together on Facebook as well.
Awesome. And before we go, I want to leave you with this question. Before we go, I want to leave you with Before we go, I want to leave you with this question. Do you like what you see in the mirror? And until next time, I love you. God loves you. Peace. All right.